my name's Meredith Salenger, and my mother always told me not to talk to strangers, and yet here I am disobeying her again on Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogan.
Don't be alone with Jay Kogan.
Hello, and welcome to Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogan. I am your host, Jay Kogan, and I'm so happy that you're here and so happy that you have tuned in or clicked play or whatever you did. As long as you're clicking buttons, you could click subscribe. Subscribe to the show. It costs you nothing, and it gains the show notoriety. We get people and awards and all kinds of love with each subscriber. Also, if you like the show, feel free to share it with a friend or tell a friend about it. Apparently, word of mouth is how people get to know shows. So if you like it, spread the word. But today is a really great show. I have a really great guest on. Meredith Salenger is our guest today, and I'm very excited to have her here because it's somebody I've never met. She is the wife of a friend of mine, Patton Oswalt, who has also just been a guest on this show. So it's potential that you're seeing these shows back to back, so you get to know the husband and the wife. Meredith is a very interesting person. She was a child actress, started out very young, as most child actresses do. I hate the adult child actresses who start out in their 40s. They're weird. But the young child actresses, fantastic. She was one of those young child actresses who was in Annie, and then she was in The Journey of Natty Gann, and then she was in these other shows when she became a little older. She went to Harvard and got a psychology degree. So she's like this really smart person who did a lot of things, and now she's sort of been an advocate for many important campaigns, and she does so much more than I do, and more than I will ever do. She also has continued her career as a writer and actress. She's got a new dark comedy called I Hate Myself and Want to Die that's coming out, starring Mike Castle. But before she comes, I just want to remind you, write to me at dbawjk@gmail.com with all your listener questions. I need more listener questions. I'm desperate for them now. With your comments and suggestions, and if anything else you want to tell me.
Don't be alone with Jay Kogan.
Welcome officially, Meredith Salenger.
Jay. Yeah.
Meredith Salenger is here. That I want to say thank you for being here. Also, I don't know you.
Oh.
We don't know each other.
And yet I feel a kinship. But let's just talk.
But you know a million people that I know.
I know.
And that's why I called you and said, I think we have to meet one another because we're in the same orbit.
Yes.
And yet we have not connected. And I thought, how can that be?
How can that be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was very excited that you agreed. And I thought you would, not knowing you, but knowing things about you. I thought, why wouldn't she be open and interested?
I am, and are currently very interested, but I felt really badly. See, this is how I worry about other people.
Right.
Because you had asked me to do it, and I was busy for some reason,
right,
which is rare. And then you asked me again, and I was busy again.
Right.
And then you asked me again, and I was like, oh my God, I can't fucking believe every time he's asked, I've been busy. And I was like, oh God, I hope he doesn't think that I don't want to do it. See.
Do you understand what the etiquette of podcasting guests are? The etiquette is, I ask them to be on and they say, fuck you. So then I ask again and they say, no. And then I ask again and say, really, won't you leave me alone? And eventually I wear them down until they come here. So you should know, that's what your husband did.
Oh,
that's how it worked with Patton.
He said no? He wouldn't have said no.
He didn't say no exactly. He said, I'm busy for the next year and a half. Something like that.
Let me tell you, that man is so busy.
Yeah.
He really is the busiest man.
I know.
I see him in the morning and I see him at night, or I won't see him for like 8 months. Right. That's not true. Well, there was one show he did. He was gone like over the course of 8 months.
Wow.
When my daughter was 13. I was like, oh my God, she's in the 13-year-old stage, right, and you're not here to back me up on the things that I need to say to her. And so she's just going to be annoyed at me. Right. And you get to call and just be like, hi, honey.
That's one of the things I wanted to talk about, which is how mothering, how's mothering going? And you have a very special relationship with your daughter.
Yes.
And it's a very fascinating relationship, and sort of, you came into the relationship with a daughter already there.
Right. Patton was previously married.
Right.
And he was married to this brilliant woman named Michelle McNamara. Mm-hmm. And they had the cutest little girl in the universe named Alice Oswalt.
Right.
And Michelle passed away when Alice was 7.
Right.
And then Patton was just the most depressed human being.
He was broken and lost.
Yes.
And didn't know how to proceed in life and wasn't sure if he could handle raising a daughter alone or any of this stuff. I ran into him every now and then during this period, and it was, heart goes out to him, of course, but he was rescued by you.
Well, yes, that's what he tells me.
Well, it's true. He was rescued. I know that's not why you fell in love, and that's not why you had a relationship.
No, that's not why we fell in love.
But it is true that you saved his life.
And I think I saved hers, because for that year he was feeding her mac and cheese, and that's all he fed her.
Well, that's what kids when they're 7
that's
like.
That's all he fed her.
Right.
And he was eating sleeves of saltines.
Right.
And she was eating mac and cheese.
Right.
And so when I got her, first of all, back up on my life.
Right.
I am my greatest joy in life is I love kids. I'm like, people call me the baby whisperer. Mm-hmm. My sister has 4 girls. My best friend has 2 kids. My other best friend has 2 kids, and I am their Auntie Mare extraordinaire.
Right.
I'm Mary Poppins. I'm not just there for an hour and then leave. My sister would be like, I have to go away for a week. Can you watch the girls? And I'm like, yes. And I would, throughout the week, babysit them and give them baths and feed them dinner and read them stories. And I was a mom just to 9 kids instead of 1.
Okay.
And I got Alice when she was a little over 8. But I fell literally madly in love with this child. Like, I saw a picture of her. I don't know how Patton's brother, Matt, and I sort of became friends on Facebook, but I had seen a picture of Alice on his page, and I texted him. I was like, isn't being an uncle the greatest thing in the world? And I was like, oh my God, she's so cute. And I was I was obsessed with her. Like, I just kept looking at her cute little face. And she kind of looked like me with her little nose and freckles and she's just so, that sounds so narcissistic, but she's so cute. He and I talked. Did he already tell this story when he was on?
He didn't. We talked only about comedy and nerdy things, and we didn't talk about life. Oh,
well, didn't think I'd ever meet anyone like for real. I was like, well, I'm just going to be Auntie Mare to all my friends and their kids. And my mom was always like, you need to go out. You need to go to party. I'm like, oh, Mom. She's like, you're not going to meet anyone at home in your pajamas. And literally, Patton and I, one of my dear friends is Martha Plimpton, and she had a dinner party at her house, and she invited like 15 people to her house on a text thread on Facebook. And I went to the dinner party, and it was amazing. And Patton was invited but didn't go. And the next day I texted on the Facebook text thread, best dinner party ever, dude, you missed the best fucking lasagna. Right. And he was on the phone, he was online at that time, and he DM'd me, and he was like, oh, I was supposed to be there. How do you know Martha? So we started texting each other, and I was home in bed in my pajamas at night. And we were just texting, and I sort of knew who he was, but not really. Right. And he wasn't really my type. And so we were just chatting, and I knew about his story that his wife had passed away, and I knew about his daughter, and I was like, I'm so sorry she lost her mom. And we started talking about real things. And then after 3 months of just texting, we kind of, I sort of fell in love with him.
Right. This is old-fashioned courtship.
Yeah.
This is like what they used to do in the 1870s.
Yeah.
Letters,
very
dear one, and then you spill your life out, and then another letter would come back and forth. Except with texting, you could do it instantly.
Yeah, and it was so real because I wasn't trying to impress him, because I wasn't trying to date him, and I don't think he even thought that we weren't flirting with each other. It was not that at all. Until about 2 months in, he said, I was talking about an actress. I'm like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. And he goes, you're so beautiful. And I was like, oh no. I hope he doesn't think I'm flirting with him. Oh my God, he has a little girl. Like, I don't want him to, like, I just didn't want to.
Right.
Anyway, long story short, I told my best friend, I was like, I love him. But I started crying. She's like, why are you crying? I was like, I don't think I'm going to like him. Like, I'm going to meet him, and he's not my type. And I'm not going to. So finally we met, and I was like, oh my God, you're so cute. And we fell in love.
That's nice.
And then I met Alice, and then that sealed the deal, because she's like magic.
I was going to ask this later. This show is about you solving my problems. But I'm going to ask you one question, which is not my problem, which is, how do you become the good stepmother? In other words, there's obviously emotions about it and all that kind of stuff, but you seem to have created this I don't know, this cocoon of love or whatever it is, that you guys have created a family that was needed and was there. I wouldn't say instantly, but beautifully.
Well, I have a stepmother, and I have a mother.
Right.
My stepmom's amazing, and she's taught me so much that I didn't learn from my mom, and my mom's taught me so much. And anyway, but Alice doesn't have, I mean, she has her mom, of course. Right. And the one thing is, I super honor her mother.
Right.
I know how brilliant she was. In fact, you were saying you couldn't believe we haven't met before because we know so many people. Well, when I first was finding out about Patton, I just sort of looked up Michelle just to see what kind of girl she was. And I saw her Facebook page, and she was best friends with one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And I was like, JJ, how do you know her? What is her story? She's like, oh, I went to an all-girls school.
Okay.
And so we're all like sisters. Like, everyone supports each other and is smart. And JJ was like, she's just like us. Like, she's a girl's girl.
Which all-girls school?
I went to Westlake School for Girls,
sure.
which is now Harvard Westlake.
Yeah, I know. All the cute girls went to Westlake. When I was at Birmingham High School.
Oh, I know.
I always thought there was like a stash of beautiful girls at Westlake. Anyway,
Michelle, so my friend said she's just like us. So then that made me like Patton, because I was like, oh, he likes smart girls. Mm-hmm. He likes good, smart,
right,
cool, supportive, loving girls. And so that's the kind of person I am. And I love kids, and I fell in love with Alice, and I want her to know that I respect her mom. And at the very beginning, when she was just eating mac and cheese, and I was trying to introduce like broccoli and a little bit of real chicken, not like chicken nuggets,
right.
and I'd be like, look, I promised your mom that I'm gonna raise you,
right.
keep you healthy. I'm like, we're on a team.
Right.
She ran the first 7 miles, and
right.
then she handed me the baton.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, every now and then I joke, I'm like, oh great, I got her for the 13-year-old years.
Right.
Like, thanks a lot.
Right.
But we joke about it, and she's in our life, and we play the game Clue as a family, and every time Alice wins, I'm like, it's not fair. Your mom had like detective genes.
Right.
Like, you got her genes.
Mm-hmm.
That's not fair. And so I just love them. And so there's no wicked stepmom, because there's
I wasn't worried about you being wicked so much as the daughter
right.
being unwelcoming or concerned that loving you means she's not loving her mom.
Well, I told her because when I first met her, I didn't meet her as I'm your dad's girlfriend.
Right.
I met her like Patton had said, oh, I know that he showed her a movie I did called The Journey of Natty Gann, which is about a little girl who's like super strong and feminism and all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. And
you don't have to tell me. Come on.
He showed her the movie, and afterward he was like, did you like that? And she's like, yeah. And he said, I know that girl if you want to meet her. Mm. And so I went and just had a play date with her.
Right.
And I brought fairy houses and all this cool stuff. So it wasn't like, here's your dad's new girlfriend, you better like her. It was more like, she and I had our own
relationship
play dates. Right. And then at one point I was like, we should have a sleepover.
Right.
And so I slept in her room, and I slept by her bed in my sleeping bag.
Oh, that's so sweet.
She gave me her stuffed animal, and like we had our own little thing.
Right.
And then Patton was like, it seems like you really like Meredith, and I know she really likes you. And he goes, would it be okay if I liked her too? Mm-hmm. And then she was like, yes. Oh. So we sort of started out that way.
That's so beautiful.
And
that's
she really knows I'm not your mom. Right. I mean, I am her mom, but I'm not competing with your mom. Like, she has two moms.
I did a similar thing with my wife's parents. I slept in their bed. I had to sleep over with them first. And then eventually I said, wouldn't it be cool if,
But it's hard because I don't really I have a stepmom, but I have a stepmom because I have a real mom too, who's alive and here. Mm-hmm. And her mom isn't here. And I'm the mom. I'm the one taking care of her. But I never say I'm your mom and you don't have another mom. It's like you've got your first mom and then you've got me.
But okay, so one of your first movies, the director John Huston was your director.
My very first movie was the movie Annie. I had a very small part. Mm-hmm. In fact, when we auditioned for the movie, my sister, who is shy, doesn't like to be in front of the camera, but a really beautiful dancer. It was a dance audition for like 500 kids, and everybody went, and the choreographer picked 12 kids, like you, and you, and picked my sister and didn't pick me. And I was devastated because all I wanted to do was be an actress.
Sure.
And so I went away to camp that summer, and she was on the Columbia lot filming for the entire summer for 3 months. And when I was done with camp, I went to go visit, and I was like sitting in a corner with my, my head in my hand, like just watching all these girls. And John Huston walked by, and he's like, we need another orphan, come on. And he picked me out of the sitting there, and they threw dirt on my face and told me to scrub that floor.
It's a real Hollywood story.
Yeah.
You sitting there, come be in the movie.
Yeah.
From John Huston.
From John Huston. Anyway, and then they called me back. They had to reshoot a number with the main orphans, but one of them lived in England, so they had me do her part for the Hard Knock Life, and then brought her in on the day of filming. But all the rehearsals and the choreography and everything I did with the girls.
And you obviously loved it.
Loved it.
Yeah.
And then I did the Journey of Natty Gann when I was 14.
Right.
And that was like the greatest experience an actor could have for their first real big thing.
That's a huge, big thing.
That was a huge
There was
big
no
thing.
step. That's a very giant step.
That was a big step.
From
extra.
You in the corner to star in a movie.
Exactly. And truthfully, prior to me starring in that movie, I was such a, not a show off, but like I just loved singing and being the center of attention. And at school, we did a school retreat, and I was like singing for everyone.
Right.
And then after the movie, I was like, oh God, I don't want anyone to think I'm a show off.
Right.
So I just became very, didn't talk about it. Anytime anyone had anything else going on in their lives, I was always like, oh my God, that's amazing. Right. Always the wind beneath everyone else's wings. And that's pretty much how I still am.
Which leads me to the big reason you're here. So the thing about that I know about you through mutual friends is you are, as you say, you're very empathetic, and you care a lot about people, and you care a lot about causes. Yeah. And over the last year or two, I've seen your name on a list of 1,000 different causes, all of which I agree with, about, helping people in need, helping the political parties that need to be heard, and people that need to be heard, causes, a million different causes. I was like, okay, yes, of course, I agree, and I don't have the energy you do, so I'm not doing all of them. But this past year, I feel like I personally have suffered so many losses, like so many bad things have happened in the world, and it's so hard. And even though we're trying to do good things, the bad things keep on coming, and it almost feels like I'm drowning in bad things.
It totally does feel that way.
And so I don't see you letting up all that much on this kind of stuff, but I feel like I needed to take a hiatus, a break, even though the world needs our help more than ever.
Right.
And how do we
keep going?
How do we keep going? That's my big question. I want to be a good person. I want to be valued to the world. I want to make sure the world is a better place.
Yes.
Because that's a real Jewish thing, and it's like it's a life thing. And I'm doing a shitty job right now of making the world a better place. I'm just like tucking in under a blanket.
Well, it's hard right now because we're in a actually this minute.
Yeah.
It's like there was so much concern about the election and making sure that we don't ruin democracy and all that. And it was such a fight. It was like, you can't let up 1 second. And so I just got involved. I'm in this political group, and it's a working, we call ourselves a working group. We were with the Biden campaign. We were with the
You're no
Harris
longer
campaign.
with the Biden campaign, I hope.
No, well,
because you're wasting your time.
No,
I have some bad news.
It switched to the Harris campaign.
Good. Okay, I also have some bad news.
I know, but we're still a working group.
Okay, yeah.
And it's not just for their campaigns; it's for all the good things, all the governors, all the congressmen, all the people that value climate change and reproductive rights, and the Center for Reproductive Rights is a big cause, and one of my biggest is Vote Mama, which gets Democratic moms elected to office.
Yes, I've been to very many Vote Mama pool parties and things,
pool parties.
Yeah.
And so you're saying, like, how do we keep going? So right now, I felt the same. I mean, I felt the same way all the way through. It was like, we're going to win. Ah, fuck.
Right.
We're going to do it. God damn it. And it was just like, but this is so dire. someone's got to let people know. Someone has to try to get the masses to know whatever I can do to let people know.
But the election shows us that as much work and as much door knocking and as much that lots of people don't want it. Lots of people don't want the point of view that we are representing.
It's not that. It's not that the people don't want it. It's that there's a bunch of people who are misinformed, that are operating against their best interest, that have been sort of misled to think things are one way and then things are another way. Like the people who were like, the price of eggs or whatever that was all about. And then they're like, wait, tariffs? What's that about?
I think that's more to the point than, not more to the point, but equal to the point of people being misinformed is also people who just don't care or just are angry.
Right. But I think if you're apathetic about it and then you listen to something that's misinformed, that you're misinformed about, then you sort of, that spreads and there's no one else to check it in. They watch one channel that gives them one. They don't ever get the other side. There's no debate. They're not interested.
Yeah.
And so what I really want, what really matters to me is that there's civics brought back into schools so that we can teach them. But now the education secretary is going to be slashed.
Right.
And I mean,
they want to eliminate the Department of Education.
Exactly. Yeah. And so things that would help people understand the situation more, it's less and less available to them.
Not coincidental, by the way. I think there's a method behind that madness.
Well, sure. Keep an uneducated populace, and and then the rich can rule, and it's like a feudal society.
Wait a second. The rich can rule. Hold on a second. Doesn't sound so bad. Let's keep talking. No, I agree. I'm just very concerned about that the next 4 years and in all those states where, they're just fighting the idea of what truth is and facts and books and all that kind of stuff, that we're fighting a really tough uphill battle that I kind of feel like I'm slipping back from. And the solution isn't run away, obviously, but
my mom has friends that are, they watch Fox News, and my mom had her 80th birthday, and it was downtown at this really cool place. They did taiko drumming, and my mom and all her 80-year-old friends they're all fit and cute and happy and healthy, and that's wonderful. And her mom said one of her friends couldn't drive. Could I please take one of her friends? So I took one of her friends, and then we were talking about it, and she's like, I really never thought of it that way. And she really changed her mind after we talked about things. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the like personal conversations that you have with people where you really get to ask them.
I guess I've found that I don't get to change people's minds. I find common ground. Like the best I can do, I've stopped trying to change people's mind, is to find common ground with people and show them that, look, this deep blue liberal has common ground with you.
Yes.
And I may not change your opinion of what you think is right, but at least you can see that we're not sort of evil, lying bastards trying to destroy things.
In 2009, I hadn't been working for a while. Obviously, actors go through, you work for 6 months on a movie, and then you don't work for 3 months, and then you work for 3 months, and then you don't work for 6 months, and then it's always like that. Right. But in 2009, I went to the Strauss Institute for Dispute Resolution at Pepperdine Law School. And this is like one of the most renowned mediation schools. And there were judges from Uganda. Mm-hmm. There were like lawyers I was one of the only non-lawyers there.
Interesting, yeah.
But I'm such like a priss. I was sitting in the very front, on the very first day, I was in like a little pink sweater, and they have, it's a law school room. So everyone has their names, and my name was there, and I was sitting in the front row in a pink sweater, and everybody else is so prestigious in their suits and whatever. And I was so into it. I was so into mediation. I was just like invigorated by it. And at the end of this one course, the professor, his name was Tim. Oh God, I won't forget his last name. He's passed away since then, but his name was Tim. And he, at the end of the course, he said to everybody, you don't need to be a lawyer to be a good mediator.
Sure.
And he was pointing at me because we did all these mock mediations and things like that. Anyway, I went on to mediate like 200 cases throughout the Los Angeles courts, downtown, Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, and Studio City.
Now, when people sit down with a mediator...
I mean, Van Nuys, not Studio City, Van Nuys Courthouse.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah, I don't want people to go, there's
I, for a second, thought you were talking about Studio City versus Van Nuys. I would have leaped over.
I would hate for someone to go, there's no Studio City.
Right.
Anyway, so...
No, but I'm saying, like, is mediation, as we've been through some mediation, it kind of are hoping you can find an agreement, but if both sides don't find agreement, they can walk away, right?
Correct.
Yeah, all right.
Yes, and my brother's a lawyer, and he's a badass kind of mean. He's not mean, but he's tough.
Yeah.
And when
nobody wants an untough lawyer. That's like nobody's the reputation. He's
so
the softest lawyer.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's so adorable.
He's great and badass.
Right.
And tough and kind of a little bit mean. Not mean, but you know what I mean. Anyway, and he was saying to me as I was starting mediation, he was like, no one's ever happy after mediation, and I was like, I have to be honest with you. Most of the people I've worked with are really actually happy. Mediation
is usually two people both unhappy, but both can agree to the idea it's better to do this than not do it.
Right. But my brother was saying they're both unhappy. Yeah. And I think when you put it that way, you're like, okay, I get it. And then they leave with not an unhappy feeling. They leave going, this is really going to be the best for me. And so they're not mad or angry or I didn't get what I wanted. Somehow, I don't know. It's a quality that I have to sort of help shift people's perspectives.
Right. Okay. Here's what I think. I think a lot of what people on my side of the aisle were doing were saying like, well, the idiots on the other, were demeaning people on the other side, ignoring what people are feeling, not really taking seriously their concerns, or saying, well, they're just stupid. They just don't know, and they're just ignorant. And it's like, well, no, They know what's bothering them at the kitchen table.
Exactly.
And we have to agree.
So what do you do?
Yeah.
There's certain people that you just can't get through to. But the ones that you can, you have to sit down with them and talk about how are we going to get you the things that you want and need.
Right. It seems so crazy to me. And yet this is why I question myself. I must not know something because so many people thought, yeah, great, he's cool. I think Larry the Cable Guy is very popular, and I love comedy. So like there's a bunch of comedians. There's a lot of people who like comedy out there, like a different kind of comedy than I like, and so I just am not aware of them.
My husband has told me, and I'm not going to name names, but he has told me that there are a lot of comedians of I don't know, do you call them like redneck comedians where they do funny? I don't know what it's called. What you're supposed to call them? That's maybe politically not correct.
Country,
but there are a lot of comedians that cater to the more
MAGA?
A more uneducated kind of down home kind of a thing. Yeah. And those comedians in real life are from wealthy families.
Often, yeah.
And they are putting on this persona.
They're the Kid Rock of comedians.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, again, it's like people are putting on these little shows for who they're catering to, who they think they can manipulate.
Right.
And yet, Trump is not a man of the people. He's a rich con man. He's a con man who actually isn't rich, but is just taking.
Well, he's rich now.
He's rich now because everyone's giving him money.
Right. But I mean, who sells perfume? Like who just puts out their own?
It's so cheesy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's so, and that alone, that used car salesman thing is so
sweaty and desperate.
It's just so not for the office of the presidency, and it's
it's just like it's the turducken of
and that's why it's an anomaly.
People think it's what rich people were like. It's it's very strange. But
I think once that goes,
but all the other real rich people are still catering to him, and I don't know. I see the Zuckerbergs of the world and
and you just wonder
the Bezos of the world.
What's this greed all about?
Yeah.
How much money do you need?
Me personally, I would settle for $100 million. That's
sure,
fine.
$100 million's great.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Again, there's this. Let's not talk about this anymore.
All right.
It's so upsetting.
See, I did it to you. I was able to break you down. Oh, I feel so good.
I mean,
thought now you feel like I do.
Well, that's the thing. That is the feeling.
Yeah.
That's the feeling we all think. It's like how,
right.
And how you just have to keep trying every day.
All right.
You just have to keep trying and do what you can and avoid conversations like these.
Okay. let me move to some slightly happier subject. Patton says that recently he was showing you some Sergio Leone movies.
Yes.
And shockingly, you had not seen them.
I had not seen them.
How is that possible?
Well, I love the fact that I'm married to Patton, who loves that he has me to introduce movies to. Like his biggest joy is watching me watch a movie that
yes, he said
he loves it.
He said you fell in love with like Jason Robards and
God.
who you work with, and
yes.
and he said that you saw Clint Eastwood. Like he's handsome. Like,
oh my God, he's so handsome.
Yeah.
But not Tommy Lee Jones. Charles Bronson.
Right.
Oh my God, in Once Upon a Time in the West.
Right.
Dear
Handsome.
God.
Yeah.
Oh my
Fantastic.
God, Jason Robards. Yeah. So, but wow, those films, the close-ups and the lighting, and I like movies. I'll tell you a really funny story. I like movies. I'm not an insane film buff that Patton is. Like he knows, he's an encyclopedia of knowledge about film and music and books and everything.
Yeah, I consider myself very well versed, and I'm nothing compared to what Patton is.
And I just like the movies that I like that I've seen, and I like seeing cool movies, and I especially like seeing them with Patton because he shows me things in the movies that I wouldn't have known about that guy and or whatever. So I like that stuff. But I remember I did the Merv Griffin show when I was 15 years old.
Who doesn't? We all did.
Everyone has.
Everyone did, yes.
And the night I was on was with Orson Welles.
Oh, wow.
I think Breakfast Club had just come out.
Okay.
And I loved that movie. I was obsessed with H.U.D.
Sure, it's the Citizen Kane of the John
80s.
Hughes oeuvre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was in the green room and we were talking with Orson Welles, me and my mom and him, and then I think he went out before me. When I went out and I sat, and Merv Griffin was like, "How about Orson Welles?"
Right.
And I was like, "I don't know who Orson Welles is." I was like,
Right.
"Who's Orson Welles?"
Right.
And I mean, I was like, "Yeah, Orson Welles."
Right.
I'm 15.
Sure.
I don't know
Right.
shit.
Right.
And I'm like, "Yeah, Orson Welles." He's like,
Yeah.
What are your favorite movies of his?" And I was like, I like all those old movies.
That's good of you. Oh,
and
my gosh.
my insides were dying. I
Yeah.
was literally like, I don't know what to say.
Right.
And anyway, then I went back in the green room and I was chatting with Orson Welles and listen, I don't remember this verbatim. Maybe I'm making this up.
Sure.
Might not have ever happened, but
Okay.
I really believe he looked at me and said, "You're going to be a great actress one day, kid." I really
Okay.
think that's what he said.
All right.
And then he walked out through the doors and got in his limo. And he died the next morning. He was dead
Wow.
the next morning.
So
It was like me and my mom and the driver were the last
Right.
people to see him alive.
So you're saying you killed Orson Welles?
I did.
Oh, wow. Less funny than I thought the story was going to end in a funny way. But no, okay,
I'm
the
just
death of
saying,
Orson Welles.
This is why, like, Patton's a huge
Having
film nerd.
4 meals a day at the fanciest restaurants in the world is probably what killed him, but you didn't help.
No.
I'm saying you didn't help.
No, he was like, once I meet Meredith Salenger,
Yeah.
I can go.
It's true.
It was more like, she's the pinnacle. I'm good now.
Orson Welles is the perfect Hollywood story of, genius and then the collapse of genius.
Well, that's like a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Like Elvis and
Right.
Michael Jackson.
Right. And
so
everyone I know. Amazing people. So I have questions that are written in for people to me to ask you.
Yay.
So question time begins
Now.
It's question time.
What was John Huston really like?
I mean, he was just this beautiful older man, and he had a sweetness and a softness in his eyes, and a dignity that I think you don't see much anywhere.
I don't hear much about his sweetness and softness. I hear him as a blowhard, crazy
That's not how
lunatic.
I mean, I was
Yeah.
a little girl.
Yeah.
I think he might have treated me differently
hope
than
so.
he
Yeah.
treated other people,
Yeah.
and he's
Right.
the reason I'm an actress,
Fantastic.
basically.
Yeah, he pointed you like you should have been at a counter at Schwab's, and somebody just point to you and say, "You be a star."
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, and the same person said, "What's John Hughes really like?" And because
I didn't work with John Hughes.
Because John Hughes and John Huston look the
They
same.
do sound
Yeah.
the same. John Hughes, I don't know
All right.
what he's like.
Yeah, well,
but,
but
I like
he and John Huston are very similar right
yeah,
now.
but I like the movies that he made in the
Yeah, me
80s.
Is there anything you're proudest of introducing Patton to?
Oh.
Have you introduced him to something?
I mean, I'm sure he already knew everything that I know, but like my passion for the Muppets, pretty big. My passion for wolves. We recently adopted a wolf that had to was rescued by a wolf sanctuary. And so I think my passion for animals and...
So is there a room in your house for the wolf or
no.
how do you... Oh, no.
She stays at the wolf sanctuary.
Oh, she stays at the wolf sanctuary.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
But we visit her.
Do you have a relationship, like actually see the wolf?
Oh, yeah.
You don't come near the wolf.
Well, this particular wolf that we just adopted, her name is Indy, and she's very young, and she was like a baby when we got her. And then... so right now she is not socialized as well as some of the other wolves. But yes, there are other wolves that have been there for a while that you can have very close relations with and be.
A word of warning, if you start to see your wolf start to huff and puff,
they're going to
stay
blow.
away. Yeah, go away.
Guard my house.
Guard your house.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen.
You don't.
You know, they're cute when they're little.
But then they start
grow
huffing
up,
and puffing.
And they start huffing
when you
and puffing.
see a wolf huff and puff, it's pretty impressive.
Exactly.
It is.
Is Natty Gann okay? How's Natty Gann doing?
Natty Gann?
Yeah.
Oh, she's thriving.
Okay.
She's teaching people about everything I teach people about.
Okay.
She is.
All right.
She's super cool.
That's cool.
She doesn't let anyone get in her way. She'll no wonder.
How many people come up to you and talk to you about Natty Gann?
About Natty Gann?
Yeah.
Every lesbian I've ever met.
Right.
Every lesbian. I remember going to my daughter's school for the first time at a school assembly, and there was a row of women sitting behind me, and one of them leaned forward and she's like, I love The Journey of Natty Gann. My wife and I love that movie. And then the rest of the women were all like, we love that. And they were all, I get so many women coming up to me saying that made me realize I wanted to be a lesbian. People come up to me a lot.
You should go on tour with the Indigo Girls and just have Natty Gann
just
today
there.
and
come say hi.
Yeah, come say hi.
But not just girls. I mean, there's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great to have had that effect. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Who's the biggest Hollywood jerk you've ever met aside from Jay?
Well, there was an actor that I worked with. I am afraid to say his name.
Okay.
But I did.
Is it like Beetlejuice? If you say his name 3 times, he'll appear?
No.
Okay.
His father was very famous, and he is a working actor.
Okay.
And I did a movie with him, and he had like a small part at the beginning of this movie, and I was in the entire thing. And then I did a TV show that he was also in. And at the premiere of the TV show, he was sitting down at a table with a group of people that he was sitting with. And I went up to him and I said, hey, this is the second thing we've done together. And he was like, oh, what was the first? And I named the movie and he goes, I wasn't in that. And I was like,
right.
Yes, you were.
Right.
I didn't say that. I go, but I think I was like, yeah. And then I named the movie again. And he's like, I wasn't in that.
Okay.
Like kind of meanly.
Right.
And I'm like, you fucking piece of shit.
Was
what?
he embarrassed by the first credit or what was the thing?
He shouldn't have been. He just didn't have that big of a part in it.
I see.
But he was in it.
Right.
He was fine. He wasn't bad. It was a fun movie. It was a good movie.
All right. And
but I saw him recently at a fundraiser, and I had already told Patton this whole story. And we were there, and he said hello, and I couldn't help. I was just like, hello. I'm not like that.
Did you remind him that he was in that original movie? So that would have been my first thing. Is like I would have pulled out IMDb and I would have said, look at you. There you are.
I've just lost complete. I just was like, what a dick move. Like, first of all, rude. I'm younger than you. You shouldn't be rude to people.
It's crazy.
And how rude.
And his father was super famous?
Yeah.
Like, was his father Jon Stewart? No.
No, not Jon Stewart. No, his father is a great actor, and he is a okay actor.
Okay. Did father win an Academy Award?
I'm sure at some point, probably. Right. I don't know.
Did the son win an Academy Award?
Never.
Okay. Then I feel good.
Right. Never.
What are you reading?
Oh, that's a great question. I just finished reading James.
Yes.
The book.
I just bought it. I did not open it yet.
It's the other side of the Huckleberry Finn with Jim the Slave, writing from the perspective. That was fantastic. But there is this book that I read that I'm in a book club that I love. And there is a book that I read at the beginning of the book club called Shark Heart. It's a first-time writer. She was a divinity student and a biology student. And everyone has to read this book. I wept. Shark Heart. It's just odd and crazy and weird.
What's the essential greatness of it? Is it just style? Is it saying something amazing that needs to be said? What's the thing about it?
Well, it's very unique.
Okay.
I mean,
obviously entertaining.
It's about you buy into this world very easily. This world that she's created. A man turns into a shark.
Okay.
And you're like, what? And then as you're in it, you just completely believe it. But
Sure.
it's so much about relationships and grief, and it's just beautifully written.
Yeah.
It's beautifully written,
All
and
right.
it's so.
I don't care for that.
And it's
See, I'm
so
not a big fan of
interesting. It's
beautifully
so
written.
fascinating.
Yes.
It's a fascinating book.
All right. Okay. Shark
And-
Heart.
Yeah.
Very good. And James, get James.
Yeah, James is really good too.
I haven't read it yet, but I hear it's good, and I'm about
Yeah.
to read it, so I'll find out. Now it's time for listener mail.
Oh, okay.
Now it's time for listener mail.
This is the question that was not intended for you.
Okay, let's hear
It
it.
was just written to me and a guest, but here's. Dear Jay and guest, I know that compromise is an important part of any relationship, but I have a difficult time compromising. When I do compromise with people, internally, I feel badly about it. That feeling lingers for a long time and it's not easy to overcome. Do you have any advice on how to have a better feeling when you give up getting what you want for the good of the relationship? Thanks, Holly.
Okay. Well, that's funny that would be the question that I get because, the mediation thing.
Yeah, I guess so.
But yeah, it's hard to compromise. It's hard to, especially in a relationship, but it depends what it's about.
This person is a listener to something I do on Fridays called Philosophy Friday. Or not a listener, writer into this campaign. And so I know what she's talking about. She went to go see Mandy Patinkin perform.
Mandy
She loves Mandy Patinkin. She went to go see Mandy Patinkin perform, and she went with a friend. And she wanted to go backstage and wait for Mandy Patinkin to say hello and I love you. And the friend said, let's go.
Oh.
The friend didn't want to stay. And so she's like, wanted to see Mandy Patinkin.
Right. She's there. This is the only opportunity.
And she did not get to, and she said, well, for the friendship, I guess I should
that.
go. I guess I should go with her. It was a new friendship, like an old son and the friend. So for the sake of the friendship, she left, and she's been boiling mad ever since that she left the opportunity.
She wasn't.
Now, caveat, she had met Mandy Patinkin before.
Right.
So she had this opportunity to talk to him.
Again, to reconnect that connection.
My book is like, well, you've met Mandy Patinkin before. You're not going to say something
That's not a compromise, first of all.
What if the friend didn't really want to go see Mandy Patinkin? They've gone and they've done all this for you. They've been with you, and they said, but now I really want to go.
Then you say, okay, go, and we'll meet up later.
Oh.
And I'm going to do the thing I want to do.
You're not sacrificing the...
I mean, look,
if
the friend was like, oh my God, my daughter just broke her leg, can we go?
No.
Then go to your friend.
Right.
Or say
so you're saying there is no rationale to not meet Mandy Patinkin.
Correct.
Under any circumstance.
Correct.
All right.
I mean, if the friend was like, I have to go to the hospital, or I need to pee really badly, or whatever the reason the friend wanted to go, it's like... It's rare when you get those opportunities to do something that you really want to do. Right. Don't lose an opportunity. Don't let your, first of all, friend, hey friend, don't let your friend lose an opportunity. Not very nice.
Right.
I'm on her side. Don't compromise.
New friend,
but boo to the new friend.
Yeah, I guess so. All right. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I stand. I would say that if I was going to go meet Elvis Costello for the 40th time, and still knowing that I would have a pretty lousy conversation with Elvis Costello. Basically, you're really great, and I like your music, and thank you very much. And that would be the conversation. Then my friend really wanted to go. I would say, well, maybe I should.
Well, listen, if there's like a 3-hour line to meet him, and you don't really know him, and you're gonna just go, hi.
That's what it's going to be.
Then
when is it ever not that? When is ever meeting somebody you don't know and you're a fan of ever not saying, hi, I'm a big fan. Oh, thank you very much. Isn't that always what? Natty Gann. Oh, Natty Gann, you did. It meant so much to me. Oh, I'm so glad.
No, then
what do you say?
I'll chat with someone, and I've had those experiences, and I've chatted with someone,
course,
and then we've become friends.
For the most part,
for regular people,
for regular people who aren't as empathetic as you are, and
for
willing to sort of
people.
absorb everyone's problems, absorb the monkeys and their circus.
If you want to meet them, they probably want to meet you too.
Right.
That's
okay. All right. I don't think they probably do want to meet me. That's my thing.
My experience is that.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
It's very.
Just kidding.
Well,
no,
Meredith.
Jay.
This is great. No, this is it. This is we're never going to see each other again. This has been fun.
Jay.
No.
You did 2 hours with my husband.
I did.
Is he more interesting?
Well, but honestly, he did 2 hours with me.
Right.
Let's be
He didn't
fair.
stop.
But we were talking also about super nerdy comedy things. But this was so great.
This was
thank
so
you for
great.
coming. Thank you for feeling guilty enough to show up on the third ask.
I
That was
know.
like nothing. In podcast years, that's nothing.
Oh, good. I'm so happy I didn't
that's
upset
fantastic.
you.
No, it's really good, and it was a pleasure meeting you and pleasure getting to know you. And I like to say that you did not disappoint. You're
yay.
fantastic. Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for being here, our lovely listeners, and I appreciate it. I appreciate being here. I appreciate you subscribing. I appreciate you writing in to dbawjk@gmail.com when you have a question or an issue or a concern or a compliment or a gripe. I'd love to hear it. And this is called Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan. So you don't be alone. You go have a conversation, in-person conversation with somebody else. You'll be better off for it. You'll get to relax like Meredith does with her friends. It'd be
Thank you so
fantastic.
much for having me. This was a blast.
Thanks for
You're
being here.
awesome. This was a pleasure. Thanks,
See you next time, guys.
Bye.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.